Hey, everybody, welcome! This is Big E from Big E TV. And today is Monday, January 22nd. Today's top news. First story is not about Kim Kardashian, first time in 4 shows. Amazing. Question that everyone is asking, what color dress will Kate wear? Australian designer based in London. Meghan's dress features a see-through black mesh bodice with embroidered gold feathers and a feathery silk organza skirt. You know what? If you can't tell, I really don't care about stuff like that, and neither should you. I want to get on to the other top stories of the day. But I've just been handed this breaking news. For the third time in this show's very short history, I've been really validated by the fact that something really, I think, big broke in the news, that it was exactly what I was talking about. So there you go, folks. Here I thought I was going to bring you some breaking news, and then an hour ago, even a breaking news over the breaking news happened, and it all has to do with, surprise, surprise, the biggest company in the world, the one you're watching on right now, Facebook, and Mark Zuckerberg. For those of you who may or may not know who Rupert Murdoch is, he is the owner of Fox News and the media conglomerate, basically the Darth Vader. He had a comment, Rupert Murdoch did, about the changes that Facebook is trying to make. I was about to rip into them a little bit. I'll get to that story a little later. And now I'm starting to think that if Rupert Murdoch is criticizing them, maybe that they're not so bad after all. I mean, after all, they're letting Big E TV on the air still, and we're in our third week. And we will closely follow the latest shift in Facebook's strategy. And I have no doubt that Mark Zuckerberg is a sincere person, but there is still a serious lack of transparency that should concern publishers and those wary of political bias at these powerful platforms. Hey, maybe what Rupert Murdoch is doing by saying that is actually kind of validating that maybe Facebook is allowing people like myself to be able to get the gospel, spread the word, and tell a few stories out there. Dun dun da, the free speech wars have begun.
Star Wars.
Here they come.
Star Wars movie. Dun dun da dun. Where I said it was grossing $500 million. Oh my goodness, was I off.
It's a spectacle, light years ahead of its time.
I am C-3PO, human cyborg relations, and this is my counterpart, R2-D2.
Hello.
Star Wars movie. As you can see, I'm wearing my Star Wars shirt. Some of you may believe that's because I love Star Wars, and their movies their plots, and they are so interesting.
The story of a boy, a girl, and a universe.
It's so easy to follow the story because you know who's good and who is evil.
It's an epic of heroes and villains.
It's actually $1.3 billion so far that the Star Wars movie, the latest movie, has made.
And aliens from 1,000 worlds.
I haven't seen the movie, and I'm not a fan of conformity. I was a little bit angered over the Christmas break.
It's a big, sprawling space saga of rebellion and romance.
How it was almost like, if you haven't seen the Star Wars movie yet, you're an idiot, man. I mean, who hasn't seen it? Everyone's got to see it, and that's why it's grossed $1.3 billion. So,
Star Wars, 1 billion years in the making, and it's coming to your galaxy this summer.
Yeah, you've heard of Star Wars. Now we've got the free speech wars. I got to give a shout out here. You know, Big E loves the protesters, you know, and I just like the fact that I still see people on Facebook sometimes that ridicule people that are protesting, like get a job or what a bunch of losers. Okay, those are the same people that are going to be susceptible to the corporate brainwashing that goes on in our society. I think that anyone that's willing to step up and stand up for their beliefs and their values and to go out there and believe in something that's important, hey, good on you, woman, and good on you, man. And there was a couple of marches that were happening. One was a women's march. It was 1 year since the shithole president got elected. And so we got to give a shout out to all those that are marching for women's issues, which are so important right now. And the other one was for the Dreamers. And I feel so bad for these young people in the U.S. They haven't done anything wrong. They play by the rules. They've worked hard. Sounds like most of them are really good, upstanding citizens. But they're getting caught up in this political shutdown of the U.S. government. Speaking of women power, turning to sports, I got to give a big shout out to Rachel Nichols and Ramona Shelburne. I don't know if you know who these ladies are. If you follow basketball and on ESPN, you'll definitely know who they are. And speaking of sports and exercise, you may notice that Big E TV is powered by values, and I'm on my recumbent self-powered bicycle again here, giving the report out today. The Saudi Prince Mohammed bin Salman began his tenure last June in Saudi Arabia, and he's been making big changes to their land, including letting women drive. Unbelievable, isn't it? And they just opened up their first movie theater, and the first movie that they allowed to show was a little surprised at this. It was Oliver Stone's History of the World? What? I don't think so. It was the Emoji Movie, so talk about baby steps. This world cracks me up.
Hey, we don't serve their kind here. What?
Okay, now Pope Francis, if you follow the show, you'll know that I'm a fan of Pope Francis. He's always been a cool guy with me, you know. He stands up for the poor. He gets into social issues. He's not afraid to call out the shithole president, although he's a little bit nicer to him than I am. He came under fire the other day over the weekend for defending a senior Catholic official in Chile. Probably like you, whenever you hear something like sexual exploitation and like, young boys and girls and just like taking advantage, especially like that authoritative power of the church. It's so holy and it's so pure, and it's so disgusting. It just rots inside of you. But when I listen to the specific words that the accused were leveling against this higher up priest, I'm thinking it didn't sound very convincing. Probably your emotional reaction is just, yes, of course he's guilty. Yes, that person. Yes, they're all guilty as charged. And again, we have to be careful in our society not to get into this. There's a reason for judicial processes. I don't have all the answers, folks, but I'm willing to ask the questions. 3 times I've been validated already. The first time was when the very first broadcast on Big E TV, I was going on a little bit of a rant about how we lost democracy. Not that we're losing democracy, but we have lost democracy. Like, it's on our rear view mirror. And the night before that, ironically, the CBC did a feature story on the national broadcast about Timmy Snyder's book on tyranny, on how we've lost democracy. Wow. Second one was Love Guru warning about landmines out there. If you haven't seen that, go to my Facebook page. And the third thing that was validated, Big E TV, I was posting a couple things on Saturday, and lo and behold, Facebook froze my posts. This was quite alarming to me. But at the same time, it's like, yes, I made it. The biggest company in the world, and they are worried about what Big E has to say. What was interesting about this material is it wasn't offensive. There was no swearing in it. There was nothing demeaning towards any group. It wasn't anything malicious. There was no lies there, so it wasn't unfactual. And so it made me think what are they? And then it got me going back to the 2016 elections, where, have you ever heard that expression where better to beg for forgiveness after? Because right after the election, right away, Mark Zuckerberg was like, hey, we had nothing to do with the election, it wasn't us. And then a few weeks later, they were like, oh, well, you know what, maybe we did have something to do with the election, but we're sorry, we're going to work on that. Well, hey, that's great, but the problem is the way people think, it's what's in front of them, okay? They can't even think what happened last month, last year, let alone 4 years ago, So the danger about these kind of things that happen in real time is that doesn't really wash when they are like, oh, I'm really sorry about just like giving the presidency to an idiot like the shithole president. Truth will be, you know, in the pudding in terms of 4 years from now and during the election, and then what happens at that time, because people have short memories. And if you want any proof about short memories, go no further than what happened in the financial crisis of 2007, and about how I was thinking, okay, no one will ever be duped by the Republicans again, how they basically just stole $1 trillion or $2 trillion from the public coffers and gave it to these bank people and claimed like, oh, well, we didn't know. And then later they were like, under oath going up, well, you can't really blame us. I mean, when you're going to give it to us, why wouldn't we take it? And then nobody was charged from that, And then fast forward 10 years later, the same routine is happening over again, folks. And now I'm starting to give Facebook the benefit of the doubt, because now I'm starting to think that maybe what they were doing is that, first of all, that's awesome. Like, they think Big E TV is important enough to censor what I put out there. And number two, well, perhaps it was as simple as they did, because now I have a little bit of a following. I mean, just last week, as that said, I reached over 10,000 posts. That's 10,000. That's starting to have a little bit of a megaphone now, so I feel good about that. It is so awesome. I'm getting everywhere I go. Zoran yesterday at the Vancouver Knights home opener. Just the fact that you say you watch me, you guys, and you watch me like a lot. We're building something here together, and I just sincerely want to say I really appreciate that. I think we're going somewhere with this. So tell your friends, get the word out. Big E TV is on the air, baby. For now, Mark Zuckerberg, you know that I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, buddy. So do the same for me. And maybe all they did was they just took the due diligence to, okay, this guy's important, censors material. They were kind of messing with me a little bit, so I was honored and flattered and a little bit concerned. Thank you, Andrea, for that message about letting me know that people get their Facebook accounts shut down. And so if you don't ever hear from Big E TV again, might want to check the bottom of the Hudson River. No, just kidding.
But I'm going to try to have a conversation that's a little bit bigger than ourselves.